So yesterday we looked at shipbreakers. It's really hard to wrap your head around some of the things that happen in this world. Um, and it's without looking face to face, it's really going to be hard to have a discussion about it at this point in time. So I am going to segue into corporations who are the corporations aren't all bad. There is evil in this world, and there are things that happen and bad choices that are happening, unethical decisions. Uh, a lot of companies are now practicing corporate social responsibility. And it's not just because they have to, it's because it's good for them. It's good for their communities, it's good for their employees, and it's good for um, the environment as well. So today I'm going to walk through this PowerPoint. You can look through it with me. You can download it and look through it with me. It's going to lead us into our project. We're going to look at corporations and find out what they are doing for good, not just for bad. So download your PowerPoint. We'll just walk through it, discuss it a little bit, and then take that knowledge and research. You're going to research two companies to uh, see what they are doing to do good in this world. Oh, security alert. Yeah, don't know what that was. So we're looking at culture, their core values, and CSR, which is corporate social responsibility. And this is where we're headed to. So this is why I'm giving the PowerPoint. We're headed to the end result, which is going to be a project. You're going to research two companies, two competing companies. So for example, Tim Hortons and Starbucks, or make them larger companies because you need to be able to find information about them. Maybe it's Walmart and Target, or it is Tesla and Hyundai. Looking for two competing companies. You're going to look at their mission, their vision, several other things. I'll outline those, as well as their corporate social responsibility in terms of what they're doing for their employees, for their community, and for the environment. You're going to compare the two on different levels, and you're going to decide which company you think is doing a better job. So that's where we are headed to. And so we're going to look for information similar to what we find in this PowerPoint. So organizational culture is kind of the assumptions, the beliefs that a company has in terms of how they behave. So some of your parents, some of your family members may work for a company that just does good stuff and they just love working there. They love going into work, not just because of what they do, but because of how it feels when they're there. It affects how people act within there, whether people are happy being there, trying to create a culture, a place where people want to work. And so every organization, they try to develop their culture, they have guidelines, they have situations that happen within it. So there's the observable, there's the stories on the wall. So Wendy's Dave Thomas talks about his childhood and why he is who he is. The rituals that exist, the employee of the month maybe that they have, the history behind the company. And then they also have their core culture, which is the underlying values, their core values, they quite often call them. And those trademark words of having integrity and social responsibility. They're committed to their customers, those types of core values that they have. So under observable, Google is going to be the best option to to explain it. But what do you feel? What does it look like when you walk in? How do people behave and different things? For one example, for us, when people walk into our school, they would say, "Oh, it's so clean in here." Maybe you don't think so because you're here every day, but that's what people say. And the fact that we have computers sitting in the hallway and the lockers aren't locked just floors a lot of people who come into our school. So there's the observable, which has the stories and the heroes, the past, what's happened in the past, the founders, um, and who they were and what did they stand for. The actions and how people behave and they interact with customers. The symbols, so certain language. A lot of companies have their own language. No doubt you've heard us use engage, enfold, empower on a regular basis. That would fall into some of that. That's conveying our core values. And then as well, so the rituals. What do their meetings look like? Do they celebrate employees of the month? Do they have big Christmas gatherings? Different rituals that may occur there. Walt Disney is a great example of one of those leaders. And so we're going to watch this video. about, that's not what I wanted at all, about Google, and why won't it play? That's annoying. I obviously inserted it wrong, so I will play it this way. What's going on? What did I do? It says picture format. It's not a picture, it was a video. All right, I will put the video up on our website, and you can watch it from there. Not quite sure what I did wrong. Story of, oh, here it is down here. Tammy Lee. Nope, that's the next one. All right, forget it. I'll put the video up. Core values, almost every company will spend time establishing what their core values are. And if you look at the words I have here on the screen, they can apply to a lot of different companies. But if you don't state them, then your employees don't know what is important. How do they make their decisions? Performance excellence, being innovative, having integrity, high customer service. People are our strong points, those types of phrases, right, in terms of what's important to them. And so to be a core value, it needs to be relevant, it has to support the company, it has to be known by all the members. Everybody needs to stand for that, from the president down to the latest hire, the newest hire. And it should be a strength. It should be something accepted by everyone as something that makes us better. And how do they show it? With their mission statement. So why do we do what we do? Their core values, they quite often will list them. And then those will turn into actually operating objectives. What is it we want to achieve this year or in the next 5 years in terms of our performance? So mission statements, here's 3 mission statements. See if you can figure out which company they belong to. To give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. What company might that be? Or to organize the world's information and make it universally acceptable and useful. And to refresh the world, to inspire moments of optimism and happiness, to create value and make a difference. So they sound great, but what companies are they? They have Facebook, Google, and Coca-Cola. So they use those mission statements to drive decisions they make on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis, or even on a 5-year plan basis. Those mission statements, why do they do what they do? Then you also have vision statements. And the vision statements, so what do they want to become? It's more long-term, heading towards the future. So when you're researching your company, you might find a mission statement, you might find a vision statement, you might find one of each. If you find both, awesome. But if you don't, there should be at least one of these two that you will find on the company website. Why? To kind of show what is important to them. Why do they exist? So here's some vision. Our vision is that people everywhere will share the power of a wish from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Our mission is to make Target, now again, this is their mission. I think this is probably more of a vision than a mission, but they say mission. Target is preferred shopping destination for our guests by delivering outstanding value, continuous innovation, and exceptional guest experience by consistently fulfilling our expect more, pay less promise. So very much talking about their core values within their statement. I say more of a vision statement because it's long. Mission statements are quite often short and inspirational. So 2 companies there. Again, you're going to look for the companies. You're going to research 2 companies, and you're trying to find these statements from those companies that you find. Then they might list, they might not, but most of them will, operating objectives, right? So what are they hoping to achieve specifically in certain areas? And here are some examples in terms of profitability, um, turning a profit or having positive returns on investment, using their resources well, meeting the needs, creating loyalty within their customers, having a high quality product. But on the flip side, maybe you're no frills, and maybe it's not a high quality product, maybe it's a low cost product, right? Gaining market share, recruiting high level employees, creating equality in that way. So those are operating objectives. How are they going to meet their mission? This is how they're going to meet their mission. The other part of it is looking at corporate social responsibility. It's the requirement that businesses act in ways that serve the interests of their stakeholders, and these businesses must be concerned about their impact on society. So historically, companies were there to make their owners profit, but it's so much more than that now. We need to take care of our community, our employees, our world, environmentally as well. So here we have stakeholders. We have our internal stakeholders of the employees, the managers, the owners. Then we have the external, and you'll see customers as one of those, but society, the government, shareholders, people who have invested money in our company, our suppliers. We want to have positive relationship with our suppliers as well. And so we're looking at our stakeholders, and it's so much more than just the owners and the shareholders. That's why we call them stakeholders. What we do impacts a lot of people, whether it's financially or whether it is something else. What we do impacts them. And so those stakeholders are important, not just the financial ones. There's another look at stakeholders, another way to view it in terms of who are we responsible to. So you see the ones in blue, the ones in yellow, and then the ones in brown, kind of different levels of who we are responsible to. So historically, it's about making money, but now we have our triple bottom line. Our triple bottom line is economic. They still need to make money, or if they're a not-for-profit organization, they need to cover their costs, because if they're not going to be able to continue. But socially, are they creating a benefit for their employees and for the community around them, whether it's a small local community or whether it's the global community in the entire world, and the environment in terms of not doing harm to the environment, maintaining our world for future generations. So those three things become equally important within corporations. And so it's a triple bottom line, not just the final dollar. So how do we do that? Corporate social responsibility is the phrase that we use to describe it. Um, and it's based on these three principles: sustainability, the idea that what we do today should not harm future generations. Okay, transparency, businesses need to make reports available to the public. They shouldn't be able to hide what they are doing. And quite often that's called fraud or tax evasion or different things which actually are illegal. But you're making decisions that impact people's lives. People have the right to know about it. And then the social audit, in terms of assessing your accomplishments in those areas uh, of doing good, of having positive impacts on your community, on your employees, on the world. Because how do we know if we're doing well unless we measure it and take a look at it? Sometimes it can be a gut feel, obviously a smaller company, but larger companies, they gain employees and customers because of their social responsibilities, and so they want to prove it as well. So why do they do it? Um, because it's good for business. It's good for the world. It's good for communities, but it's good for business as well. Employees work best when they have a balance between work and life. So we want to create an organization that does that. Organizations perform best in healthy communities, right? Organizations gain by respecting the natural environment. So by taking care of our world, we'll be able to live longer, have our communities live longer, have a healthier, physically healthier place. Organizations must be managed and led for the long term. Short-term decisions are exactly that. And then they have a long-term impact, right? So right now we're in the middle of the COVID-19, and companies are making decisions that are going to have a ripple effect for the long term, which is why some companies are trying really hard to keep their employees, even though they're not making money right now, right? They know that it's good for their company in the long run to have their employees feel a sense of security, be able to take care of their community, take care of their families. And so they're trying to plan for the long term, even though we're in the middle of short-term pain, and protect their reputation. If you have nothing, if you don't have your reputation. So it's good for business because it's customer loyalty. right? Green investors, some people, in fact, some of my investments are very specifically for companies that do well in this area. Employees will stay longer, uh, will be more efficient. We're going to find ways to do what we do better, saving money, saving the environment. We can increase sales, and we're doing the right thing, and we're really taking part of that. So there's arguments against it, obviously. There's arguments for it. It costs money. To do what's right costs money. And so that's just plain and simple. The bottom line, the dollar line is part of it, but again, we have much more responsibility than just making a profit. And it's going to cost money to do well. It costs Tim Hortons money to have Timbits hockey. Do they gain from it? Sure they do. Absolutely. They have an improved public image, but it does cost money as well. It focuses it away from providing coffee and refreshments to other things. There's also really hard to measure the impact of corporate social responsibility. And so people don't necessarily hold you accountable to it. If you don't do it, will people notice? They notice when you do it, when you do have corporate social responsibility. Will they notice when you don't? There is also on the flip side, it does improve long run profits. Tim Hortons gains from having Timbits hockey. More people will go to Tim Hortons, particularly if your child is in Tim Hortons Timbits hockey right now. You'll go. It improves your image. Governments will reward you for it. And there are resources available. And we have an obligation. We have to do what is right, and build strong communities. So that is corporate social responsibility. That takes us to the end of what it is. Now you're going to research two companies in the same industry, and you're going to compare them on those different bases. Let me get the handout here. Pick two companies, any two companies, but make sure they're competing. So second happen, Bridgehead, Tim Hortons and Starbucks, McDonald's and Burger King, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, Ford and GM. Pick two companies that are competing against each other in the same market. And hopefully we get to present them. We might not be able to, but maybe we get to present. So we are going to pick larger companies. You won't find enough information if the company is not big enough. Unless you do two small companies, perhaps the two companies that your parents or family members work for, and you can find enough information, that would be great. They don't have to be large. And so I'm going to give you today's class period, whatever's left of it, Monday and Tuesday as work periods as well. And I will be available to help you research. If you're looking for a company like, I cannot find anything on what they're doing for the environment, talk to me, send me a message. I will help you look. I have other places that I can look as well. Okay, so you're going to research your two companies. Here's some places where you might find some information. I would love for you to, well, wouldn't love for it, you have to. Once you've picked your companies, and you might want to do it before everybody else, I want you to go in and type in your two companies. So I've given you some examples up here. If you're fast and you get Tim Hortons and Starbucks, you can have them. Or Volkswagen and Ford, you may have those. Those are my examples. But pick two companies, put them in here, and nobody can do the same two companies. So if you're going to do a car dealership, try to do a car manufacturer. There's lots of them available. Pick something different than what somebody else has. There's gaming companies. There is heavy equipment. There's so many different industries. Pick something that you're interested in. Clothing companies, makeup companies, and I will show you a couple of examples of what previous students have done. So put your name in here, put your company's names in there so that we do not overlap. Okay, so here is the expectation within the presentation. You're going to look up their mission statement, their vision statement, and their objectives. Okay, and you're going to then decide which company does a better job of inspiring their stakeholders. So their company, their employees, their customers to do good. That's the first one. The second one, you're going to look at their social responsibility initiatives within the community. So I gave you Timbits Hockey as an example. Most companies have something that they do within the community. And again, you're picking large companies, so they definitely will. And they probably might have a list, but I want you to describe at least two programs that they have. So don't just list those two, actually explain what it is. You can list more, but explain two of them in terms, maybe the two you like the best of what they're doing. And then again, decide which company you think is doing a better job based on what you found. Then you're going to go for social initiatives within the company. What do they do for their employees? So maybe they provide scholarships, or they provide additional training opportunities or promotional opportunities. This information, volunteer days. I know some companies will let you take a couple days a year to volunteer for another organization, a not-for-profit organization. I know Husky used to have a doctor right on site, those types of things. Usually you can find it in the careers section. Again, it's going to take a little bit of work to find them, but try to look at what's unique, not just their health benefits. Again, right here, those are standard things, health benefits. You can list them, but describe something that is unique to them. And then again, decide which company did a better job on that side. And then the next area is environmental initiatives. Find what they're doing. A lot of them are doing things to save water, to save waste, to recycling programs. Maybe they sponsor parks. They do a lot of different things. And so try to find those. And again, describe at least two programs within that company. Once you've done that, decide which company you think is doing a better job for the environment. If I am manufacturing cars, I am not good for the environment, but I have programs to help offset that. Okay, so what are those programs, those positive programs that we've created to help with the environment? And then decide which one does better. The last thing I want you to do, this one you don't have to decide which one's better, but I want you to research a secondary source, which was outside the company, of an article that talks about that company and their corporate social responsibility. So what is something, for good or for bad? So for example, when the Enron Valdez ship crashed and spilled oil into the Gulf of Mexico, that's terrible. Now that's before 2015, but a big spill is the exact opposite of corporate social responsibility. So they don't have to be positive ones. They might be a negative one in terms of what's going on, but make it so that it is not written by the company. And then summarize the contents of that article. So when you're finished, so the corporate culture, here we go. Company statements, external community initiatives, internal employee initiatives, environmental initiatives, an article, and then you have to conclude which company is better for corporate social responsibility. Okay. And if you can include the articles if it helps, describe why, and then you also need a works cited. And so that is the project that we are working on for the next couple of days. Again, I can help you research. Sometimes it's going to be hard to find them. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If we were in class, obviously it would be super easy, but it's going to be okay. Just come on to Zoom or send me a message. Say, I really can't find anything for this company in this area. Let's talk about it. Let's search together. Let's try to find some things to help us out in that way. Okay, so I will show you some exemplars on another video, and